Okay, so welcome to another yoga class, and just a reminder for those who are doing this recorded version that anything you're not comfortable doing, please don't do. If you know it's not safe for you, again, listen to modifications or skip the pose. And no, you shouldn't ever be in pain when you're doing a yoga practice. So we're going to start by lying down. You may want to also have a strap for a little bit later. And if you've got a yoga block, that's an option as well, but we can get away without those things. So let's get comfortable on the floor. And if you can extend the heels towards the corners of the mat, just so that the toes fall out to the sides. Check that the back is comfy. And then you've got the choice. You can either rest the hands on the belly or have the palms facing up towards the ceiling. And begin to follow your breath. So noticing the air moving in through the nostrils, down the throat, into the lungs, and then following that breath back, out through the throat, out through the nostrils. And as you observe the breath, settle into the breath, you might be aware that each breath is a little different from the last one. Sometimes the body wants to take in a deep breath, other times it's just a small, shallow breath. And observe that the breath is smooth, feeling a little rough. And it's just observation, so not trying to change the breath in any way, just being aware of each breath as it happens. And which parts of the body move with the breath. And perhaps now increase the depth of your breath, taking it deeper into the belly. And as we breathe, we'll rotate into the wrists and into the ankles, so circling the hands and the feet. And then we'll go back in the other direction. And then from here, flex the toes and the fingers back towards the body, and then point them away or flex them back towards the wrists. Just go up and down a few times through the wrists, through the feet. And then we'll take a big breath in, arching through the spine. As we take the arms overhead, point away through the toes. And then let it all go. Release and relax. Now we're going to do a movement for our hip joints. And if you can just bend the knees and press the lower back to the floor. So we really want a long spine. With this exercise, you can either have the arms beside the body, or some people quite like to have the hands underneath the buttocks, which just helps keep that lower back connection with the floor. So now we'll have the left leg out. We're going to take the right leg up towards the ceiling. And from here, we're drawing numbers with the right leg. So we're going to draw the number 1, not quite touching the ground, and then we come straight back up. And then we do the number 2. And we keep drawing all the way up through the numbers, starting each one from the top, and we want big movements. So when you get to the round numbers like 6 and 8, I want a really big circular motion. So here's my number 8 coming up now. And it's a big 8. And we've got number 9. So once you've done number 9, we come back to the top. We're going to do 3 big circles in one direction. We come back to the top, we're going to go 3 big circles in the other direction. When you've done those, you can rest. Bring that leg back down. And again, if you want more support for the back, hands underneath, otherwise beside the body. Let's take left leg up. We'll do number 1, And then number 2. Now, if you can draw your numbers in reverse on this side, that would be awesome. But if you can't, don't stress over it, just drawing. So backward 5 maybe. And then backward 6, 7. Big circular motions on that 8. Number 9. And then let's do 3 big circles in one direction. We'll go back the other way. And release. So we're going to bend both knees and then take the knees for a loose little roll side to side. Okay, both knees in towards the chest. Just a hand on the knees. Just a little targeted rock along that lower back area there. And then we'll roll all the way over. We're coming up to sit. And this is where you may want to have a strap as an option, but also perhaps something to sit on, like a towel or a blanket. Mainly if you've got those tight hamstrings and it's a little tricky to reach the toes, that's what the strap is for. And we're starting off in a pose we call stiff rod pose. So we have the legs nice and straight, draw the toes back towards you, and have the little toes, if you can, in line with the big toes. So rather than angling the feet away, I want to try and get them nice and level. Kneecaps pulling up, legs pressed to floor, and then from here we'll interlock the hands. You want a nice straight spine, roll the palms out, inhale up, and we hopefully have a sense of the head, shoulders being balanced over the sit bones. So not leaning too far backs or forwards. This is good for our core strength, just to be able to sit nice and tall unassisted. We'll bring the arms back down. And from here, we'll be bending the left knee. So we're going to keep the right leg straight. We'll bend the left knee. Now you can bring the heel to its own thigh, into the perineum, or just resting along the inner thigh of your other leg. Another option, I'll put my brick behind me. If you feel this in your hip joint or your knee joint needs a bit of support, then you can put a support underneath that leg there as an option as well. So from here, we're going to keep the spine nice and straight, just like we had with our stiff rod pose. So try to resist rounding the back to reach forwards for your toes. If you want to touch your toes and you can't do it with a straight back, that is what the strap is for. So you can set that up and have that like this. So if you're not using a strap, hands just either side of the body. We're going to inhale, draw up through the front of the spine, keep this nice and lifted, and then try and move from the hip joints. So I'm not rounding my back, I'm keeping the shoulders back, chest open, and simply trying to fold from my hips. So option of hands towards the feet, but I'd like you to be able to keep the elbows soft, so not sort of overstraining, or again, use your strap, or just rest the hands on the floor. And I'm looking towards my toes. We follow that breath again, so nice deep breath in through the nose. And as we hold this position, which is called head to knee or Janushasana, where do you feel the stretch? So some people it's going to be in the straight leg, others might feel it here in the bent hip joint, others are going to feel it in the back. They're all good. So where do you feel the stretch? That's where I'd like you to breathe and try and soften and relax into that area. And as we soften and relax, you may find you get a little further into the pose. Face, definitely soft, so no gritting the teeth. Now, next breath in, we'll make our way back upright. Keep the legs where they are. and we'll move to a twist. So we'll bring the left hand behind the body, right hand to the bent knee. Inhale, keep the spine nice and tall. And as we exhale, turning from the belly, through the ribs, the chest, the shoulders, then take the gaze around with the head. So you should still have this sense of the head, shoulders balanced above the sit bones. So we're not leaning off to the side or backwards. Spine is nice and tall. And keep that right leg active. Don't forget about the right foot and the right leg. Press it to the floor. Next breath in. We'll make our way back to the front. All right, so we'll extend that left leg out, bend the right knee, and then we'll let that right knee relax off to the side. And if you want to use a strap around the foot, feel free to set that up. If you want to support the joint in the hip or the knee, then a little support there. Okay, so tall spine first. Let's inhale, draw up through the front of the spine. And then exhale, moving from the hip joints and releasing forwards. So trying not to round the back here. I'm keeping this left leg nice and firm. And then observing where you feel the stretch in your body. So it could be different this side. You might find that you don't go as deep or that it's easier. And wherever you're noticing that sensation in the body, that's where we breathe and we try and soften and relax into it. Okay, next breath in, we'll come back up and we'll move to our twist. So this time, right hand will come behind, left hand to the bent knee, drawing up first on the breath in, and then exhaling into the twist, moving from our base. It's always last to come around. And don't forget about this left leg, it stays active, toes pull back. Reach out through the heel. And then on the breath in, we'll make our way back out and extend that right leg out. Shake it off, loosen up. So one more forward bend. From here, we're going to bend both knees. And this time, yes, we're going to let the back round out because we're going to be supported on the thighs. So let's just fold forwards until you can get your belly resting on the thighs. We're just letting the head relax as part of that release and opening of the spine. So you could interlock the hands underneath the legs there. Some of you might be able to even grab hold of your elbows. So whatever works for you. And then from here, we breathe into the back body. You may be able to extend the legs out and fold deeper, but I still want to have that belly connected with the thighs in some form. So if you've got the knees bent, that's good. And the idea is just to open up this whole back chain of muscles. So opening up from the heels through the backs of the legs, all the way up to the crown of the head. We keep breathing into the back. On the next breath in, start to lift the head, release the hands from underneath and slowly come up. You can straighten the legs out. So that is meant to be a calming posture. But if we strive too hard, then we lose that essence of calmness that we're looking for. So now we'll come over onto our knees. And if you'd like, something soft down for the knees. You can set up a blanket or a towel. We're coming into a neutral position for the spine. So we've got the hips over the knees, hands under the shoulders. There's just a slight natural curve here in the lower back, not too much. So we want to keep that spinal position, take the right leg back and reach the left arm forwards. And we're stretching across the body. We'll then bring those in. We're going to take left leg back now, right arm forwards and stretch across. Keeping that neutral spine. And then we'll bring that back in. And then from here, working a little bit more into the chest and the arms. So you have the option of extending the arms forwards. I want the hips to stay above the knees. It's called a hanging cat stretch. You can have the arms a little wider if you like. And we want to either rest the forehead on the ground without dropping too much into our lower back there. But if your shoulders don't like it or the neck doesn't like it, you can support the head on a brick or a book. And you might find that's a little bit more comfortable. So keep extending back through the heels, reaching up through the heels of the hands. And then we'll come back up, we'll walk the hands back in, back to our neutral position. We'll just do a little cat-cow roll here. So as we inhale, lifting the sit bones, little dip, gaze forwards, and then exhale, rounding it out. Rolling in time with your breath. And then from here, we'll move into a bit more of a working child. So I'm going to take those knees out a little wider, big toes touch, sink the hips back towards the heels. And if you can, arms again extended forwards, forehead on the floor or on a support if you prefer. Breathe into the side ribs now. And then we'll come back out, knees back into hip width. All right, you might want to roll the wrists again. We're going to be moving into downward dog, just a little stretch out for the legs, and then we'll be focusing a bit more on some upper body and core strength. So now set the hands a little further in front of the shoulders, feet hip width. Now, if you like, you can even have the hands a little wider than shoulder width. So let's come up high with the hips, and head should be relaxed between the arms. So I can do a yes and a no with the head quite comfortably. We'll do a little walk out on the spot, alternating, bending one knee then the other. And then we'll take just the right heel down. As we do that, keep moving the chest a little bit more towards the legs there. And then we'll switch the left heel down. And then just briefly, both heels extending closer to the floor. Doing that beautiful stretch in the calves, in the Achilles. All right, we'll come for a rest, both knees down. And your choice of child, so you can either support the head, or a lot of you are going to be quite happy, arms beside the body. And then we'll come back to hands and knees. So we're going to be moving from our downward dog into a plank position. Now, if you've got sensitive wrists, then you may prefer to do what we call a forearm plank. So feel free to come into this position as well. You may even want to start from your downward dog here as well. Otherwise, if you're happy to do a full plank, we'll start from our full Savasana, our downward dog. Make sure you've got a good base with the hands, fingers spread out, And then as we breathe in, we'll bring the shoulders over the wrists. So if you need to readjust the length with your feet, do so. And we're looking for a straight line through the body. You can modify with knees to floor and do a half plank, but we want to feel the abdominal muscles working. So I reach back through my heels, keep the lift in the belly and the thighs. And then from here, let's move back to our downward dog or forearm dog if you prefer. Breathe it forwards once more into our plank position. Soft face, you can even smile here. So this is good strength work. All right, knees to floor. Let's come down, have a rest. And if you want to roll your wrists out while you're resting, do that. So upper body weight bearing is not something we do a lot of in our everyday lives. And it's really good for the bone strength to keep that sort of weight bearing poses up. So now we're going to move our plank position into what we call an upward dog position. So for those who are doing this on their forearms, your alternative is to come into a sphinx. Otherwise, if you're doing the full downward dog plank, we'll be rolling forwards on our toes and coming into upward dog with the chest coming through the arms, which is what I'll be doing. So choosing your position either on the forearms or straight arms. And then our next breath in, we'll modify through into a full plank or a forearm plank. And then to come into our up dog from here, we bring the chest through the arms. So we're going to inhale, open up, push the floor away, lift through the belly and the thighs. You can flatten out the feet if your feet like it, mine don't. But let's exhale back, downward dog. So it's quite a strong pose. And if you've got the energy to do one more, we'll do that. You could modify with knees on the floor as well. Breathe into our plank and then exhale through and up into up dog. And release back to downward dog. And then we'll release all the way to the floor and give those arms a rest. Maybe even rotate the wrists out if you like. All right, from here, we shall move through to being flat on the floor. So if you like something underneath your hips, again, a blanket can be quite nice. And we're going to have the feet roughly hip width apart. Starting off in our Sphinx. So elbows under the shoulders there, hands in line with shoulders. And then we get all 10 toes connecting with the floor. As you do that and firm up the thigh muscles, your kneecaps should also come off the ground. Now, if you feel any constriction, pinching in your lower back, just press the pubic bone towards the floor, and that should give you a little bit more space. Of course, with our back bends, anything that is not comfortable for your back, listen to that and come down. Don't do it if it doesn't feel good. So we're going to breathe and lengthen up through the crown of the head. Keep those legs active, kneecaps up. And then if you're comfortable with it, let's press through the palms and take the elbows just off the floor. Shoulders shouldn't be coming up around the ears. We're going to actively draw those shoulders down. Elbows move in a little towards each other. And we see how the back feels. Make sure that pubic bone is pressing to floor. And then we'll slowly lower down. So when we rest, you can rest the head on the hands, or you could have the arms beside the body and turn the head to the side. It's whatever is comfortable for you. So extending this now into cobra pose. So with our cobra, it's creating a little bit more of a back bend. So again, if you're happy with Sphinx, feel free to stay at Sphinx. Otherwise, If we have the head on the floor, can you line the hands up either side of the head? And the elbows are just coming in a little bit towards the ribs there. So from this position, I start with my feet pressing down with the kneecaps and then inhale up through the crown of the head. And I'm using back strength. So at this little halfway point, I can still take my hands off the floor. This is my back strength. As we exhale, if you want to, you can come up a little higher. So now you're adding a bit of arm strength as well, but you haven't lost your back strength. Elbows in, shoulders down. Check in, does it feel okay? Can you breathe? So we're trying to create length in the spine while we are creating a curve in it. And then on the exhale, let's lower back down. Take your rest, however you like to rest. And we have one more. So if you would like to go a little higher, then you could try bringing the hands underneath the shoulders or near the chest, elbows moving back and down towards your hip points. All right, on the breath in, let's lift up. Back strength first, and on the exhale, choosing the height that you'd like to go to. So my pubic bone is still on the floor. I haven't lifted it off to come up. My elbows have a little bit of softness in them, so I'm not locking them out. And depending on where you are, just breathe into the front body. We want to stretch and open across the belly, across the chest. When you've had enough, release, come down. So we come down, nice and controlled. And then this time when you relax, can you bring the big toes to touch and let the heels fall away from each other? Deep breathing, especially towards your lower back. So I like to take a big breath in and then a slow breath out. And then from here, we'll bend the knees. So feet coming up and then just a little side wind with the feet, taking them over one side than the other. We'll come back to our center and coming up to hands and knees again. But easing all the way back into our child pose. So just creating that space in the back. And then coming back to hands and knees. So for our next strength work, we're going to be working the muscles here on the between the ribs. They're called the intercostals. So we're going to be doing a side plank, and there's a couple of ways you can do that. Those are the wrists. If you want to be on your forearms, then you can certainly do a forearm plank. And what it will look like is right arm, forearm will be on the floor, right leg extended. You can do this with straight legs. At the moment, I quite like having my left leg crossed over the front there. And then from here, we lift the hips, lift the side body and take the top arm up. The other choice is to do it with a straight arm. So same setup, you have your right hand on the floor, left leg underneath, and then we inhale, we lift up. So if you haven't joined me already, onto your right hand, right foot, lift up through the side body. Remember, you can do this with legs together if you want a bit more of a challenge. I just like this version. I'm still working my muscles on the side body. We'll come back down and we'll change sides. So we'll have left hand on the floor, left leg will be extended. I quite like to cross my right leg over the top. And then if, for those who want, you can be on your forearm. So we're going to press down through the foot, the arm, and then lifting up. So working those muscles through the ribs, through the side waist, breathing, and then release all the way back down. Whew, okay, release those wrists. Now, from here, back to hands and knees. We will be making our way up to standing. So once we're standing, if you want to readjust your cameras, devices, etc., do that. So we'll tuck the toes and then rolling back, walking the hands towards the feet or feet towards the hands, whichever works. Just a nice easy forward bend. Feet at hip width. Keep the knees soft. And then from here, we'll bend the knees a little deeper. Place the hands on the outsides of the thighs and then lift the head up so that the head is now higher than the heart. The heart is a little higher than the hips. We'll take the weight a little bit more towards the heels. Next breath, sweep the arms up into our Utkatasana, our chair pose. So good workout for the legs. And then next breath, we must come all the way up and we'll release the arms out to the sides. So if you need to adjust the cameras, etc., do that. And we will bring the feet together. So just touching the toes if you can, a little gap between the heels. And from here, doing a side stretch. So we're going to breathe the right arm up. And as we exhale, slide down to the left side. Continue to hold and allow the hips to move a little bit more to the right. Next breath, we'll come back up, switch the arms, and on the exhale, slide down to the right. And just watch that you're not sort of twisting off with the upper body. Keep breathing. Next breath, we'll come back up, release. So now we're going to do both arms, a little bit stronger again. So if you can interlock the hands, index finger pointing forwards. Inhale up both arms. Keep them next to the ears on the exhale, over to our left side. Actively press down through both feet. Keep the legs glued together. And then we'll come back to our center as we breathe in. On the exhale now, reaching to the right. Legs stay strong. All right, inhale, coming back up. Release the arms. And give them a bit of a shrug. You can step the feet out a little wider. And then from here, let's just go for a nice, easy twist. Nice and relaxed. Fabulous. Let's come back. And then our next posture will be setting up for Warrior One. All right, warrior number one. So we're going to face the short end of our mat. We'll take a nice big step forwards with the right foot. And we have a slight bend in that front right knee. So we're going to ease the left hip forwards, relax the right side back, and then breathing up, take both arms out. We can have them out a little bit wider than shoulders. So think of a sort of a yes position, nice and opening, reaching back through the heel on that left side. So take another deep breath in here, and then as we exhale, we're going to bring the arms forwards, sweep them behind as we lean forwards. Inhale, take the arms up, nice big stretch out. And then exhale, release forwards, arms coming out and behind. Again, breathing in, lifting up. Exhale, fold forwards. Hold it down here. And you may want to interlock the hands behind the back as we release the head. And some of you might be able to bring the arms up a little higher towards the sky. And then release the hands back down. Inhale all the way back up, nice and slow. And then arms down, stepping forwards, coming back out. And we'll change sides. So we'll have the left foot forwards, right foot back. Soften into the front knee. And this time we're trying to relax the left hip back, right hip eases forwards. On the breath in, take the arms up and out a little wider. Thinking, yes, open to the universe. Thinking about creating, receiving some really good energy. We all use a little bit more good energy at this time. I'll take another breath here, and then on the exhale, release the arms down beside the body. Inhale, reaching up, and exhale, folding forward, sweeping the arms back and behind. Again, breathing up. Release on the exhale, forwards. We'll hold it down here this time. And you may want to interlock the hands. And some of you may want to take the arms up a little higher. And then we'll release the arms. On the next breath in, coming all the way back up. And letting it go, stepping back out. And we'll come sideways on our mat now. Stepping out nice and wide for angle pose. So we'll turn the right foot out 90 degrees. And back foot slightly toned in. So breathing out the arms, shoulder height. Exhaling, gliding over. And then you've got the choice, you can place the forearm on the thigh, top arm extending overhead. Or you could find a little bit more core strength and just have the arm extending closer to the floor, but not touching. So think of lengthening this inner right thigh, moving the kneecap to the middle toes. Press down through your back left foot. Turn the gaze either straight ahead or maybe past the top arm. And then next breath, we'll sweep that top arm down, inhale it up, and release. We'll change sides. Softening into the left knee now, and then breathing out the arms. Trying to get them roughly the same height. On the exhale, gliding over, and then your choice, either resting forearm on the thigh, or perhaps taking the arm behind. Keep the diagonal line, we're opening up on the top side of the body. Keeping the center of this left kneecap pointing to the middle toes here. Maybe taking the gaze up past the top arm. And then sweeping down, inhale up, and release. Walk the feet back in. So our last standing pose is another forward bend. We're going to alternate between bending the front knee and the back knee. So sort of this position to this position. With the straight leg, for a lot of people, it can be quite tough keeping the hands connected to the floor. So you may want to have something for the hands to rest on. If you've got one grip, have it sort of underneath the chest. If you've got two, you can have it either side of the feet. That can be a little bit easier. So we will have ourselves facing the short side of the mat again. Right foot is forward. And the back heel, it's all right if it comes off the floor at some point, but try not to have the toes pointing off to the side. So I'm trying to get both feet pointing in the same direction. We'll start with the knee bent, and then hands on the pelvis here. We're going to exhale, fold forwards. shoulders back, nice straight line through the body. And let's see if we can either reach the floor, or if not, set the bricks up with the hands. So we're going to breathe in, lengthen, take the gaze to the top of the mat. And then as we exhale, can we start to straighten into that right leg? So you're going to feel this in that right hamstring. Breathe in, then the front knee. And then exhale, straighten again into that right leg. Drawing up this kneecap. Breathe in, bend the front knee. This will be our last one. Exhale, straighten into the front right leg. Inhale, bend the front knee. And coming back up. All right, so we'll step the left foot up and just observe the difference in the legs. You might find one feels longer than the other or more grounded. So let's change sides. We'll keep the left foot in front, right foot back. Try and have both feet pointing to the top of the mat. We're going to start with a little knee bend, hands on the hips. Exhale, fold forwards. And then release the hands either to the floor or onto your supports. We'll take a breath in, gazes forwards to the top of the mat. And then exhale, can we straighten a little bit into that left leg? Breathe in, bend the front knee. Exhale, straighten into the front leg. Inhale, bend the front knee. Exhale, straightening both legs, nice and strong. Inhale, front knee. And then from here, we'll step forwards into a forward bend. So right foot coming up, feet back to hip width. And folding the arms into Uttanasana. So just letting ourselves hang. Now we'll be making our way down onto the ground from here. So if you do want to again readjust your cameras, you can. And we're all the way down on the ground. So our next pose is Navasana, also called the boat pose. If you want to protect your back, then you can use a strap for this one just to make it a little bit easier. But if you don't have a strap, you can also just use the hands behind the legs. So we come into a seated position. If you've got a sensitive coccyx bone, tailbone, you may want to have a little bit more softness underneath there because we'll be balancing there just behind the sit bones. So we're going to have both knees bent. We can start with the hands behind the back of the leg, or you can put a strap around the feet. Roll the shoulders back, lift up through this sternum, this breastbone. So let's take the feet off the floor, find that balance point, and then take the shins up to be parallel to the ground. So you've got the option now of letting go, if that's safe for you to do so. And of course, breathe. All right, we're going to come forwards again, feet to floor. I've got the soles of the feet together, knees out wide, and just a gentle little forward bend. So our second time we go up, we're going to see if we can straighten the legs. This is really going to work the hip flexors, strengthening those muscles as well as the core. But if you find it's too much, just keep the knees bent is fine. So once more, bring the knees back in, holding behind the legs, shoulders back. Take the feet off the floor. Lift the feet a little higher, maybe let go. Maybe straighten those legs all the way out. See how that feels. Keep breathing. Push out through the balls of the feet. Try not to round the back. And we'll come back in to our feet together, knees wide, gentle forward bend. Relax the head. Just allowing ourselves to soften. And inhaling up. So let's take the feet out. We're going to roll down onto our backs. We have the knees bent, and we just want to feel that whole back on the floor. We'll have the feet hip width. Now, if you want something a little bit more restive, then you can do your bridge pose with a support, either a bolster or a brick, underneath the sacrum. But if you don't have any of that and you want to work a little bit stronger, you can not use support at all. Arms down beside the body. And then from here, we'll press down through our feet and start to lift the back off the floor. Keep the knees in line with the toes. So check that you haven't turned your toes out, because the knees will follow. Now we should have space in the front of the neck, but space also behind the back of the neck. And we breathe. For those who want to make it a little bit more restive, you can place that brick and rest the sacrum on that. So it's not on the spine, it's not too much on the buttocks. It should feel super comfy. Breathe to the belly. Soft face. And then from here, we'll bring the hands together and interlocking, index finger pointing up. We're going to extend the hands up towards the ceiling, directly over the chest. It's just a bit of an extra stretch across the back of the shoulders. And of course, if you need to rest at any time, feel free to come down. And if it's okay for the shoulders, we'll extend those arms all the way overhead now, touching the floor behind. A little bit more lift for those who can. Release the hands, and then we'll release the back all the way to the ground. And rest. And if you want, knees into chest, nice little squeeze. Okay, we'll finish off with nice easy twist. So let's relax the arms out, shoulder height. And then from here, just rolling both knees over to the right. Keeping the shoulders on the floor. And if you want a little bit more opening for the lower back, you can slide that left knee up a little bit more towards the chest. I've just got my left foot resting on my right knee. All right, we'll bring that leg back down, rolling back. And we'll go over to our left side. And slide that right knee in if you wish. You could use the other hand to help it across. And release. And from here, we will set ourselves up for relaxation. So if you'd like to make yourself comfortable, put something warm on and grab whatever you need to do that. Once you've got that comfortable position, imagine that you are lying outside in the sun. It's a beautiful day. Perhaps you're in a garden on the soft grass and you can just release and relax, letting go all over until the body feels heavy with relaxation. With the eyes closed, you can feel the touch of the sun's rays on your closed eyes, the warmth that it provides to the body. And you can sense the fresh air around you and you breathe it in deeply. And as you breathe in, imagine clear, pure, healing energy filling into your chest. And as you breathe out, imagine any discomfort, tiredness, or other weakness being expelled from your body. And continue breathing in that healing energy of the sun. And exhaling out anything you no longer need. Till it feels like you've washed out your whole body. And then start to direct this warm, healing sun energy to different parts of your body. So as you breathe in, imagine that energy flowing into your feet. Filling the feet with health and life. And then start to send that breath and energy into the legs, down to the ankles, the calves. Breathing into the knees and the thighs. So that both legs feel full of health and vitality. And now breathe in and send that sun energy down through the arms, all the way into the fingertips. It feels from the fingertips up through the hands and the lower arms, upper arms, all the way into the shoulders until both arms are tingling with life. And now as you breathe in, imagine that sun energy flowing into the trunk of the body, into the organs. So filling into the pelvis, into the bladder, the kidneys, liver, spleen, stomach and intestines. Feel that energy into the lungs and the heart. So that the whole torso is now full of life and energy. Focusing now on the shoulders, and imagine that sun energy flowing into all the muscles of your neck, resting all the nerves, filling the neck and shoulders with health, life, and having that awareness of your head. Feel it heavy on the floor. Relax the jaw. Think of the forehead being smooth and scalp relaxed. With each breath, allow that health and life of the sun energy move into the face, into the skull, and flowing into your brain. Think of the brain gaining new vitality and filling it with peace and health and life. Aware of the whole body, full of life, full of health, building up an aura of health and vitality around your whole body. And then start to breathe that little bit deeper and begin to move the toes, the fingers. Start to stretch and extend the body in any way that it feels good to do so. And as you breathe in deeper, gently waking the body up, moving in any way it feels good, perhaps rolling over to one side. And then coming into a comfortable seated position. So this week's quote from Sadhguru is, every human being has some sort of genius, but they destroy it by trying to be like someone else. We can only ever be ourselves. So we'll bring our hands together. Namaste. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.